One of South Korea's most beloved boy bands, the now world-famous BTS, continue on with their sensational feats that are unprecedented for a K-pop artist. But if you remember, before the BTS Love Yourself era, there was the era of Gangnam Style by Psy, who also gained global recognition for his unique style of music. Now, there's one person who has kept close tabs on these two mega-hit K-pop stars and their journey through the U.S. music industry since very early stages. That is none other than K-pop columnist at Billboard, Jeff Benjamin, who joins us in the Arirang studio today to give us his insights on the present and the future of K-pop. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you for the nice introduction and thank you for having me.
So, Mr. Benjamin, you are just as famous as any other K-pop stars
I
among
don't think so.
K-pop fans. I mean, anyone who's slightly interested in K-pop would know who you are. But for our viewers who may not be so familiar with who you are, could you first introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for saying that. It was very kind. But yes, I'm a journalist based in New York, writing about all kinds of music. But K-pop has definitely become a specialty and definitely a passion of mine. I've been writing about it since around 2011, 2012, and in 2013 became Billboard's K-Pop Columnist when we launched the K-Pop column along with different other genres for columns. And since then, just really tried to be, the go-to guy for K-pop writing. I've talked about it, written about it on places like New York Times, Rolling Stone, across the board, and also been so lucky to be able to talk about it on places like CNN, Good Morning America, and beyond. And trying to nowadays more so expand kind of where this world can go. For the longest time, it kind of was, only getting small chances to be able to write about it, whether that was on Billboard or whether it was the occasional article for other places. But the world is just taking so much more interest in K-pop these days. So I'm trying to expand also what I can do. I recently joined a variety show that films here in Korea, but I film my sections in New York. It's called We K-Pop on KBS World, which just like Arirang, definitely has an international audience. And yeah, hopefully you guys will have good news soon about other projects I'm working on. Just again, trying to expand this world of K-pop and kind of how we understand it today.
Now, many of us South Koreans here, including myself, are amazed to witness K-pop grow and reach beyond Asia and tap into the American as well as the European continent, where we could say is home of pop songs, home of the genre, pop genre. Now, how would you assess the current global position of K-pop? Where does K-pop stand now in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think pop music these days in general is just so much more open-minded and so much more accepting these days. I think we saw particularly in 2017 with the rise of Latin and reggaeton songs with songs like Despacito, once again kind of bringing Latin music to the mainstream. These days, the world stage is just open to pop music. I think if it sounds good, if you have a medium and a video and something that is very entertaining to people, it's going to catch on or it's going to find an audience one way or another. Whether or not K-pop becomes this full-fledged mainstream force, I do think that it's shown that it is part of the pop conversation, that there's a growing, strong, really passionate community there for it. And that's going to be part of the pop scene for a long time. Whether or not it might ebb and flow in terms of its popularity, but K-pop is here. People are talking about it, and it's just slowly but surely just ways of breaking in so that it doesn't seem like it's sort of an outlier or something atypical to the pop scene, but rather just another part of it.
Now, I hear that you yourself are quite an ardent fan of K-pop. What would you say, what is it about K-pop that mesmerizes so many across the globe? What are some distinct features of K-pop that appeal to fans across the globe?
Yeah, I think me personally, I think I'm just a huge fan of music and so many different kinds of music. And when I first heard true K-pop music, I was blown away because what's really good is that, at its core, this type of music includes all different styles. I remember the first song I heard, it included all these different elements. It started as a ballad and then grew to a dance song. There was rapping, there was singing, there was auto-tune, there were soft moments, loud moments, and it had all these different things kind of combined and packed into a really nice pop package. And I think that's really appealing to a lot of people too, is that people these days, they love so many different kinds of things. You don't need to just be a rock fan or a hip hop fan. You can be a fan of so many different things, and something like K-pop really shows all the different things that are available to you and can be packaged as one. And I think also these days in particular, everything is so digital, we live in such an ADD generation that there's so many things vying for our attention. K-pop is really good about making a moment. K-pop artists, they release the song, the music video, the album all at once. They only tease it for about 2 or 3 weeks or so. It's something that happens really fast, and it's really much definitely of this generation to just put content out there and before the year's over have another album out or a third album out. It definitely keeps people excited going when it's really tough to get people to pay attention to music these days. K-pop does a really good job at making sure everything's in line to keep your attention for a little bit for that moment and just keep you hooked just for that cycle for sure.
Now, the power of music was stronger than many of us here had thought. Now, obviously, the value of K-pop is now spreading beyond music. For instance, it's spreading to culture. People are learning Korean, the language Korean, and people are loving Korean TV drama series. They're making visits to South Korea to learn more about the Korean culture. What would you say about other values of K-pop that is now reaching beyond music?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely what we're seeing, definitely with the rise of music. I think when people become so attached to these K-pop artists and they want to know more about their world, and luckily K-pop is so good about showing that world, whether it is including different styles, of dance or different styles of Korean culture in the music videos, just showing their personal lives and the food that they're eating. Every artist kind of creates its own kind of mini cultural universe in their own way. We could take, for example, RM, the leader of BTS. He's really great he loves art and he loves museums, and I notice he visits a lot of Korean museums and shares them on social media. And that's such a great, way of just, it's not like he's doing it on purpose or he's thinking about, the larger impact. This is just something that he likes and he likes to show. But think about how many fans of RM are now going to go visit those museums or see that artwork by Korean artists or visit a Korean museum simply because he just posted on social media. There's a lot of different ways I think that this impact can be seen when you become a fan and you become such a passionate fan of K-pop, which is something that this scene really breeds and this really kind of grows in a natural, organic way. And just by having the artists have their different interests in their own ways, it definitely can kind of grow and create a larger sort of form of soft power in that way for sure.
Now, K-pop, however, is often criticized for being too standardized and idol-centered.
Sure.
And that they're planned out and represented by just a handful of the well-known entertainment corporations. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, it's definitely a legitimate critique. I think when we talk about, these sort of, it's really something that I've personally been trying to kind of get over that hump when talking about it in international media, is that lots of times many outlets want to play to this dark side of K-pop, that it's, industrialized, that it's, factory made, whatever. But I think, truly the artists that I do think are crossing over and being able to make an impact in a larger way are the ones that kind of, defy those standards a bit more. Someone like BTS, they really did talk about, their feelings, open up, become kind of un-idol in that way, just talking about things that I had never really seen from other idol groups at the time about, mental anxieties, politics, things that they were going through as young people. Those things were really quite unique and I think created a much more international fan base from the get-go and had a lot more people paying attention to them and following them, not just for their performances or for their music, but for the fact that they were thinking and speaking a bit differently. And I think that's going to be the key to kind of shaking those stereotypes, those labels, is just allowing those artists to, maybe be a little less formal, relax a tiny bit and just kind of show that human side a bit. Get rid of this sort of tag that they need to be idols, be so ideal, but rather just show who they are as humans and artists. I think that's going to be so key in terms of kind of stripping away that, because I don't think at its core being an idol is a negative thing at all, but I think I do think that all the connotation with it does tend to be something that tends to bring down the conversation ultimately.
I must point out, BTS has delivered a speech at the UN, and
yes.
that was very inspirational.
Yes.
That they truly just put aside all the profits they generated. They put aside their popularity.
Yes.
The speech was very inspirational.
It was someone talking from the heart,
right,
for sure.
Right.
He was talking about where he was from, what his full name. The world knows him as RM, but he talked as his full name, Kim Namjoon. It was really moving and amazing in that way, for sure.
Now, social media, a big part of K-pop, the popularity of K-pop can be attributed to the social media. K-pop stars have fully utilized social medium to represent themselves, and those postings expanded at a viral speed globally. Yes. Now, what would you say is the next social trend, and what kind of measures are needed for K-pop to adapt to the fast-changing social trends?
Yeah, I think now we've finally seen it. It's finally happened. I think for a while, and kind of the conversations I've had in the industry, that K-pop was a little scared of social media at first, at least when it came to things like Twitter or Instagram, where the artist was having kind of full control of being what they're able to say and what they're saying. But I think, the more of that, the better. I think, just showing, if you're having a rough day, showing more of what you're going through, connecting with fans in a more personal way. I think whether it's on a platform, a big platform like Twitter or Instagram, or a rising platform like TikTok, I think TikTok is going to be really, really important, especially as artists, because it's such a music-centric platform, and I think TikTok is going to be really great at kind of creating those sort of viral moments. I think many artists can find little viral moments and be able to kind of spread in that way. But I think it comes down to the heart, the human, the artist, whether you have something entertaining or whether you have something heartfelt, if there's something that people are connecting to, that's sort of the most important thing, I think, ultimately, is just making sure that it doesn't feel so sanitized, so formal, like as if a press release was written for your Twitter post. No one likes reading that. No one wants to feel like a company wrote something that is supposed to come from the artist. I think as that continues growing and the power of social media continues to grow, and those things are going to be the things that really matter beyond having a pristine account or having the best selfies or whatever it might be.
Okay, one last question before you go. What
Yes.
can we expect from your future columns? What do you plan to focus on?
Yeah, I think, these days, I feel so lucky that people are watching my columns, so I'm really thankful. But, I think especially these days, and it's something that I wanted to stick to when we started the column in 2013, really just giving the scene the in-depth, look and sort of the deeper dives that it deserves, not just here's a music video, watch it, this is who this artist is, but rather, this is what stands out, this is what caught my eye, this is what's important about it, this is something different to think about, but also talking about, the social issues and things like that. I wrote a column that I'm really proud of about why it's time for us to cut a bit of slack when it comes to idols' weight. There's been a lot of talk about eating disorders and sort of the mental anxieties that come with that. And something like that, it got a really good response, and I was really happy to see that, but also sort of being a resource for these artists to be able to tell their deeper stories. I'm really proud of some stories and some artists, different artists that have opened up to me recently about their struggles, their mental anxieties, whether it was Park Bom talking about her ADD, or Minzy from 21, formerly of 21, who talked about feeling depressed and suicidal. These are not common topics really still anywhere in the world, but the conversation is growing in America, and I hope I can be a resource for them in that way, and just kind of be a trusted, comforting voice, and show that, you know, I'm not here to sensationalize any crazy, you know, Hunger Games, K-pop, you know, narrative, but rather show them as the people they are. So I really hope I get those opportunities moving forward.
All right, Mr. Benjamin, thank you so much for your perspectives tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.